Hello, it's Andrew Godsoll. I've been doing a few YouTube videos and quite a few of them have been about music. Now, I always say that they're unscripted, but this one is sort of semi-scripted because it's a follow-up on a blog piece that I've put on my blog yesterday. So I thought what I'm going to talk about today is the Beatles Revolver, and here's my LP that I acquired back in the 80s. Now, Revolver's my favourite Beatles album. I've sort of hopped between Revolver, Abbey Road, occasionally Sergeant Pepper, but I think Revolver's pretty much settled as my favourite album. Now, for me, it's strange because it's a great eclectic mix of songs, and you coexist Paul's Eleanor Rigby and John's Tomorrow Never Knows, which are completely different songs in the same album. In a way, it's although it's eclectic, it's also got a musical unity. The sort of the more up tempo rock numbers have got a great guitar and drum sound on them, and also I like the sort of the dreamy, surreal lyrics that go through quite a few of the songs. Um, so in that way, sort of Eleanor Rigby, um, it's sort of I don't know. I just think I think Tomorrow Never Knows, like a lot of Beatles fans, is just something amazing, incredibly different from anything they've done before, and it's just such a brilliant way to end the album. I also really love I'm Only Sleeping, and the other great song by John on there is She Said, She Said. Obviously, you've got Paul's Eleanor Rigby. Um, I think obviously John and Paul did 5 songs each. I think all of Paul's songs are absolutely brilliant. Um, John's maybe Dr. Robert's slightly less brilliant than the others, but I really love what he did. I'm one of those who think Yellow Submarine is brilliant. It's some people think it's some sort of like novelty sing along for children, but I just think it's a sort of a surrealistic sort of start psychedelic approach from the Beatles. It's just brilliant, and you've got George with Taxman that opens the album. I really like I Want to Tell You. I think it's such a brilliant song, such a great sound. And for many years, I wasn't sure about Love You Too, but I really like that one as well. I like everything on this album. Which now that brings me to the question is, well, the thing I'm also going to talk about is not just why this is. So that's why I think it's the best Beatles album. Also, one thing I particularly like about it is 14 songs, but no 2 songs successively have the same lead vocalist, which I really like. So it sort of hops between them. The thing I think if there's one flaw in the album, it's too short. It's only just a little bit less than 35 minutes long. And something else I spotted is I always feel that side 2 seems too short. And I actually, checked out the timings. And there's 4 songs at the start of side 2, each of which are about 2 minutes long. So you whiz through 4 songs in the space of 8 minutes. And in fact, side 2 is actually 2 minutes shorter than side 1, which wouldn't necessarily make much difference, but it is noticeable to me in such a short record. Now, one thing that people say is quite a lot is obviously Paperback Writer and Rain, the single, were recorded in the same sessions and came out before the album. What would have happened if they put those 2 songs on the album, which is something I've given some thought about. So I've created, which I'm going to show you now, I've created my own Fantasy Revolver Alternative. Now, I've checked out the copyright of this. Now, apparently, if you buy a record and copy it onto a CD, you bought it legitimately, put it on your own CD for personal use, then apparently that is permissible. So what I've done is I've copied basically the tracks onto a CD, and I've done I like to make these little homemade covers for my fantasy album. So this is mine. I'll come a bit closer to the screen. The problem was when I printed it the other day, I'm having a bit of trouble with my printer. One of the coloured inks running a bit low, so the stripes down there aren't deliberate. The picture is from the Paperback Writer Rain film sequence, which I think was done in Kew Gardens. And on the back. I've called it, I don't know if you can see that, I've called it Abracadabra, which was the original title for the Beatles, because it's just such, the Beatles were going to give the album because it's such a magical title. And I've just typed on the track list. So as I say, I've done a blog piece about this, and I'll put a link to the blog in the comment, in the heading of this video. But just to talk about what I do. So basically, some people have come, I've read quite a few people with ideas on this on the internet over the years. Some people have said, well, would you knock off which two songs would you knock off to make way for the two songs in the single? But I'm thinking, because Revolver's only 35 minutes long, if you add the two songs from the single on, you end up with an album that's it's about 40.5 minutes. So I think, it's actually a better length than 35 minutes. So instead of 14 great songs, you get 16 great songs. So just the question really is, where do you place them? So with the idea of keeping the no two songs successively have the same lead vocalist, and also I've even up the two sides. So my run through would be this: start with Taxman, because it's got the 1, 2, 3, 4 intro. Then Paperback Writer, because I think that sets the scene for the idea that these are a series of stories. I'm Only Sleeping's next, because that's a lovely sort of dreamy story. And then that goes into the sort of the harsh reality of Eleanor Rigby and the loneliness. Eleanor Rigby is probably my favourite song on the album. I just think it's amazing that so much atmosphere is basically created just by Paul singing with, basically, was it a double string quartet? Was it basically a few people on violins and cellos? And in just over 2 seconds, about 2 minutes 5 seconds, I think it is. So just the whole world is conjured up with this brilliantly atmospheric song. Sorry, I'm going to cough. Right. There we go. So after that, I've got Annual Bird Can Sing. So that sort of livens the mood out, and that's one of the short songs that I've moved from the second side into the first side. Then you've got Here, There and Everywhere. Now then at the end of side one of if it was a vinyl album, I would reverse the order. She Said comes first and Yellow Submarine comes last, because one of the other things I tried to do is each of the four, John, Paul, George, Ringo, each of them gets a song that either starts or finishes a side. So I'd have Ringo's Yellow Submarine closing side one. So side 2 starts with Good Day Sunshine. Then I put in Rain, because there's the contrast between the sun and the rain. And then Love You Too comes in. And I think I like the way that sort of the Indian instrumentation, I always do this halfway through a video. It's like getting me words mixed up. The Indian instrumentation, I'm not very good with tongue twisters. I think it's lovely. Sort of, you've got the murkiness of a rainy sky, and then it all brightens up with this new sort of lovely song. And then the rest of the album would just follow the original order. So you've got, I'm looking down at my list here, For No One, Dr. Robert, I Want to Tell You, Got to Get You Into My Life, and Tomorrow Never Knows. So that for me would be, as I say, Revolver's my favourite Beatles album. Quite often I just listen to it and think, oh, it could just be a little bit better. So that's what I've got to say on that. If people are interested in reading my blog, I'll put the link there. There's a bit more information about the thought process behind it, and hope this has been of interest. Thank you, and I shall say goodbye for today. Thank you. Bye.